Long live the king. Long live the king. Long live the king. Let's go, baby. My boy Ken, I told y'all. Boy, he gets it done, man. What's going on, everyone? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Succession Sunday, my favorite time of the week. We are here with our weekly live after show talking about the fourth and final season of Succession. And we're talking episode 6, which means we got 7, 8, 9, 10, 4 more episodes. But before we get to that 10th episode, we got a pretty spicy one tonight, y'all. Let me hold on. Let me just make sure y'all saw. Let me put that picture up one more time. You see that? That's a killer right there, y'all. That's a CEO if I've ever seen one. No, what's up, everyone? I'm so glad you all can join me tonight. Again, I always look forward to these every single Sunday. I love the show, as you all know. In this episode, man, it was out of control in the best way possible, which we'll get into tonight. But before we do, I got a special guest that's going to be joining us here in a little bit. I'm very excited to get his thoughts on the show in general, on this season, on this episode, of course, and it's going to be a good time. But before we get into all the festivities, we got 65 people watching live. Again, it's Sunday night. There's the NFL draft, I think, might still be going on. We have some great NBA games today. Of course, there's other, Barry's on right now. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of things you guys can be doing, be watching, and all that good stuff, living life, enjoying life. But the fact that you guys are here with me tonight, it means a lot. So I really do appreciate y'all. And we're going to have a fun time, y'all. So before we get into it, again, just a reminder, if you enjoyed tonight's episode, if you're having a good time, hit the thumbs up. It means a lot. And I appreciate it, as well as hit the share button, man. If you guys know people that love this show, loves talking about it, breaking it down, sharing thoughts and deeper meanings and all that stuff, definitely do so by sharing this video. And we're live, y'all. So definitely leave your thoughts in the comments. I'll try to get to them as often as I can, especially with the guests tonight. I'll try to, bring in you guys' thoughts and commentary on what we're saying. So definitely leave your thoughts in the comment section. Of course, those watching the replay, if you can do the same, I would much appreciate it. So look, man, my guest is in the back room. He's been on the channel before, but it's been a minute. This is my Atlanta brother. We linked up on one of the best shows of all time, if you access Atlanta, and I'm so excited to kind of touch on this show, because this is a much different show than Atlanta, but nevertheless still a great show in my opinion. But so happy to have him on. So excited to talk about him. I talk about this show with him tonight. So I'm a man, 9 Nerd Yard. What's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Mr. Snip Snip in the booth tonight.
How you doing, 9? It's been a minute, man. How you doing?
Yeah, it has been a minute. By the way, I'm still covering Atlanta. I still haven't finished with the season.
Hey, man, we gotta keep it going. Atlanta forever, man. Forever.
Atlanta forever.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But yeah, tonight, Succession, strong show. Strong show.
Yeah, man. And hold on, Ken. Let me just remind everyone.
Woo.
The king laughs.
You got that? You're going to get one of those jackets for?
I have to, man. Gotta take flight. Gotta go on flight with my man Ken. We gotta go to the moon, y'all. But look, man. Before we get into tonight's episode and break it all down, man. If this is the first time people are coming across you, why don't you let them know who you are, man, and what you do on the YouTubes and all the stuff you offer on your awesome channel, man.
Oh yeah, I'm basically a MovieFiles ripoff channel. I do video essays mostly. We have been doing live streams. We just got done with The Mandalorian. We had a great time with The Last of Us, and we're currently covering Dave on FX. But yeah, you may have seen my recent Swarm video. I had a great time just doing video essays on that. And like I said, I'm still doing Atlanta videos and trying to put as much stuff out there.
Yes, sir. And then Atlanta Swarm. I'm gonna have to get on that train, man. The Dickie train. To see what that's all about, man.
It's
I hear it's a pretty good
fire season. Yeah, especially this season. It's been good. It's been really good. You should check it out.
Good to hear, man. That's good to hear. Well, I'm glad you're doing well, man. Again, we gotta do more of these, because I know it's a lot of stuff that we cross over with as far as shows. The Mandalorian, I know, was a show you covered, and there's definitely a lot of stuff to look forward to. 9, but looking forward to this episode and breaking it down with you, my friend. I guess before we even get into it, and by the way, again, guys, I'm going to leave, by the time this video is fully uploaded on YouTube, I'm going to have 9's information in the description of the video. So definitely subscribe, check him out. Great content, great guy, and covers a lot of great stuff. So before we get into the episode, 9, just to kind of, I guess, get me up to speed, let the audience at home get them up to speed. The fandom, man, as far as Succession goes, was it a day one A1 show for you? Was it one of those word of mouth, kind of stumbled upon it?
It was
What
a
has been your
day
experience like,
one
man?
type of show for me, man. Like
Okay,
I
okay.
kind of like hold that in pride. I'm one of those guys. I'll be like, okay, yeah, I've been watching the show for longer. So, but
Right. You've been invested,
but yeah,
you've been
it
invested
was
in
very much
Waystar.
like right, right. It was definitely one of those shows where I was like trying to get my friends to watch it,
Yeah.
and it still feels like I'm still trying to get my friends to watch it.
Right?
Um,
It's like pulling teeth
uh,
with some people, man. Yeah.
Exactly. I think it it's that genre of like rich white people
Yeah.
show that some people might not be vibing with, but I
Sure.
think it's the
Sure.
best of the genre, right?
I agree. I agree. I know
Mhm,
there's people that's on Showtime, Billions, I know, kind of tackles this type of subject matter with,
mhm,
as you just mentioned, people in their money issues. And there's a couple other shows I know tackle this, but it's just, to me, it's HBO. It's the writing,
mhm,
it's the directing, it's the performances. And it is such a crazy thing. This show is just about, they're in office buildings. They're talking about selling things, buying things, and screwing each other
mhm.
over. But it's just so damn compelling, man. So I'm glad we're day ones, and a lot of the people in the chat tonight are definitely day ones as well. So
Mhm.
we gotta keep pushing this show strong, man. Let people know that they're
Yeah.
missing out on some of the best TV out
Once
there,
once
man.
you get to the finale of the first season, then I don't know how you cannot be hooked with
Yeah,
all of that goes down with the car accident and everything.
yeah,
I
man.
was like, okay, this is definitely hitting the top of the list.
I agree. I agree. And I'm just pulling up some of these comments again for all 80 of you all watching. Definitely keep leaving your comments in the commentary in the chat, and we'll try to get to them. And we'll get to me and Nine's MVPs of the episode, favorite moments, and whatnot, as we break it down. But definitely let us know in the chat, guys, how you felt about this episode, and who were your favorite characters, moments, who won the episode, and all that good stuff. So what I like to do now is I like to have these discussions live, but also I like to clip these out into little breakdowns. So I'm gonna do a quick little intro. I'm gonna intro you in, and then we're just gonna get into it, man. So with that being
Mhm.
said, welcome, everyone. We are back with our Succession breakdowns live, and we're talking about episode 6, titled "Living Plus." Everything has to have a plus on it. Disney Plus, Apple Plus, pluses all day. But speaking of a plus, I got a plus one with me tonight on my
Oh.
left, on my right. I can't get the sleeves right. And that, you like that segue? I
Huh.
got my man, Nine Nerd Yard. We linked up with Atlanta, one of the greatest shows of all time, and we've linked up on other things too. But this is the first time we've ever talked about Succession, so I'm so excited to have him on tonight. We introduced him on a live, which we are live, by the way, which I always recommend you all join us every Sunday at 9:30 p.m. to the time. But why don't you go ahead and reintroduce yourself now to the people at home that are watching us collab with Succession, man?
It's the dream team right here. We've always been, I mean, ever since Atlanta, I feel like we've been tight. We're, covering kind of the same thing. I'm trying to catch up to you, but I feel like we got like a little team of rivals going, especially with Struggle Reviews. Congratulations on hitting 50K. Uh, but yeah, you can catch me on Nine Nerd Yards, covering a lot of the same stuff. Currently going over Dave, currently still going over Atlanta and putting together some pretty cool videos, especially as I'm closing it out. If you guys are interested in Atlanta, I may be constructing like a big community project, so stay tuned for that.
Yes, yes. Atlanta was how we linked up, and Atlanta is how we continue to stay together, man. Because the show lives on forever, Nine. But speaking of show living forever, um, Living Plus, this kind of, as Manson calls it, a cruise, just chaos of this a Tesla meets older elderly people living in this building. Rome is just losing control. You're fired. You're fired.
Man.
Jiv and Tom, I don't know what's going on there. But I do know one thing, Nine. So this lets you know, my friend, my number one character from day one
Okay.
has been a Kenny Ken. And my boy
Mm,
Kid Nine and everyone watching live and watching this, he came through tonight, man. He came
mm,
through like a bull in a china shop, man. He got the Top Gun Maverick,
hmm.
jacket on. He was flying to the moon
Yeah.
tonight. So
Ken
I'm
listening to
excited for
Pusha
it.
T before
Oh
his
yeah, he
speech.
he was on one tonight, man, and I'm excited to talk about him tonight. But I guess just kind of going scene for scene and kind of highlighting things. One of the things that I definitely wanted to celebrate, and it kind of caught me by surprise in the best way possible, and that was the return of Logan. Yeah, How you been, Logan? It's been a couple weeks. Missed you, man. I'm thinking, is he
Oh,
back? Is this
gosh.
Palpatine back from the dead? No,
Somehow
not.
Logan returned.
He has the force. Let me know, Nine, and everyone watching live. How did you feel about just kind of this opening scene as Logan is back? In a way, we see him cutting a promo scene for this new real estate project, Living Plus, but he's interrupted by the director, and of course, an old-fashioned Logan way. He lets him know how he feels. He snaps on him, and he conveniently brings up that this crew is just as terrible as those damn kids. How did you feel about
Bro,
that opening scene, my friend? Let me know.
bro,
Let me
the
know.
fact that he's still posthumously just getting at his kids. I have not he is a true like everlasting presence, right? Like Logan is going to be haunting the show as a ghost. I think one of the most surprising things of the season was that they took him out of the game so early on.
Yeah,
That episode
yeah.
was so expected, but to see him kind of like brought back in this manner, it's almost like I feel like Kendall was saying like a fuck you back, right? Because
Mhm.
he would not like this type of shit.
Yeah.
He would
And
not like that.
and the thing, and you brought up Kendall, and the thing I love about that reaction to Ken, unlike what we'll talk about later with Rome, and even like if Shiv were to see something, this would have thrown them completely off. This had them, he would have been in his head the entire episode. But what I'm loving about what Ken's doing in these last few episodes, especially now being the CEO, it's kind of water under the bridge. He's
Co-CEO.
co-CEO,
He's
correct,
got
correct.
it.
Co-CEO for sure. He's not allowing his dad to get in his head, unlike we see with Roman a little bit later in this episode. So to me, this was the Ken-centric episode of the season so far, that
Mm,
he's not allowing the ghost of his father to disrupt him and be the man that
right.
he wants to be, or to solidify, episode 4, whatever episode that was, of it being underlined or being circled. I think Ken just underlined himself as, I can get this
Exactly.
done. I
Exactly.
love it, man. I love it.
And yeah, as it is being so concentric, like we gotta realize that this is the position that Ken wanted to be at his whole entire life, basically.
Yep.
He wanted to take over his dad's business, but to have him not be around to see that takeover, man, that's gotta be driving him to do some crazy things. And whenever Ken takes a dip into that water, whenever they make a point of that, you
Yeah.
already know he's up to something.
Yeah. He normally, if he falls flat, normally when these type of big
Mhm.
events happen, but he stepped up to the plate, kind of like Chef Curry did in Game 7 versus the Kings. But speaking of kind of stepping up and just kind of being on both sides of the fences, Nine, let me know what you felt about Shiv. And just in general, again, this is our first time kind of talking about the show. Generally speaking, what do you think about Shiv? What have you liked or maybe disliked about her so far this season? But in particularly in this episode, secret meetings with Manson on one plane to the next, and he wants
Yes.
her to be his inside man or inside girl, I
See,
should say. Talk
I
to me.
kind of complicated relationship with Shiv.
As we all do. As we all do.
She kind of bad, to be honest. She's kind of bad, but she's a bit too gangster. She's a bit too gangster for me. And but I also admire the fact that like the role that she plays is that she needs to be included more.
Yeah.
Like the boys are messing up by not having her, at least iron out the details
Right.
because she's going to
Right.
guide them a bit more correctly than whatever power trip that they're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
As they're doing the duo thing, they definitely need to make it a trifecta and just have everybody kind of on the same page.
It's so frustrating for me now because since season 1, I think about, you mentioned that episode, that amazing finale, and leading up to Shiv's and Tom's wedding, the night that they're out smoking a little doobie on the boat, and Jim just hugging. And then we haven't gotten them connected so much since
Mm,
this season. I love when we're on the same page. Brian Pierce, starting their 100 business, but ever since episode 1, they have grown further and further apart as far as to keep lying to each other. Nine,
they keep lying
she's
to each other.
meeting Manson. He's pitching her to be the inside girl for him. He also tells her about the whole mountain situation. This is your brothers he's talking about. And I mean, we
Mm,
all know what happened last week. He's being honest, but the fact that she's kind of just allowing him to kind of be this, devil on her shoulder and kind of playing that
mhm.
side of the thing. I mean, again, it's a very, Logan Roy type of thing, is playing both sides and keeping your options open, as Tom mentioned earlier. But nah, man, talk to me about this backstabbing, and the siblings just being
But at
terrible
the
to
same
each other.
time, it's like, what are you going to expect though? Because
Yeah,
like, if they're leaving her out, right,
it's very
and she
true. We
doesn't
talked about
really
last
know
week.
what
Yeah,
their intentions are, and by all points where she stands, Madsen's going to be the new guy,
yeah,
right? He's going to
yeah,
be buying up the company. They don't. She doesn't know. I do appreciate how they do have like a nonverbal way of communicating, because as soon as she does get a whiff of it, a whiff of any type of backstabbing on their part, or I mean, kind
yeah,
of like shadiness on their part, she just steps into the room and she goes, "What?" They say, "What?" She goes, What?" And they, she just kind of figures it out
he
from
knows her,
there.
but yeah,
It's just a funny like sixth sense that they all have with each other.
yeah,
Um, but I I that's just that how that family is. They just kind of are raised to be um just nonstop plotting and scheming
yeah,
and working any type of maneuver. They want to open up, but they really can't.
yeah,
So they
yep.
got to play these kind of like childish games and
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
bitey.
Oh my goodness, we'll get to that, man. Yeah, their mental stability is definitely unstable, and
Yeah,
it is fault to their way that they were raised. But at a certain point, you got to take your own responsibility, and that's something that they do not do. But again, I'm just so intrigued, and just a kind of a sidebar with Alexander Skarsgård. Going back to our Atlanta connection, he popped up out of nowhere in season 3, and he's just a great actor in general. But just general impressions on the Manson character from your perspective. Have you been enjoying him? He's kind of the 2.0 version of Logan, mucking things up and definitely sharing some tweets that are very inappropriate. But just in generally speaking, Nine, your impressions on Manson, played by the incredible Alexander
I would
Skarsgård.
not want to play chess against him. You know what I mean? I feel like he is just a few steps ahead. I think a little bit this episode we seen a little bit like a crack of his armor, right? Um, but other than that, he seems to be pretty in control and pretty confident about like how he's going to maneuver around all
Mhm.
of these kids. When he called them a tribute band last week, I was like,
That cut deep,
but
man.
they are. They are a
Yeah,
tribute band though. Like
yeah,
the way that they be acting is very much in line with like just kind of playing house or like playing Big Dad. But
yeah.
this guy is kind of like the screenshot. But yeah, that guy is he's pretty ruthless. I wouldn't mess around. I think it's funny that like um the European, like his European gang, is like kind
Yeah.
of like the doppelgangers of
The
the
reverse
family.
multiverse version of the
Right.
yes,
Yeah.
100%. I love it, man.
Mhm.
But before we move on, guys, just to check in with the chat, see what you guys are talking about before we get back into the breakdown. Let me see here. Let me see how y'all guys feeling about some of the stuff we've been mentioning. But notice how other business leaders, yeah, I mean,
Patrick
shit,
Gorsuch, Pierce
yeah, I mean,
Madsen. She's got
she's
good diplomacy
yeah, she
too.
definitely, I think it plays into her, for what she did before getting into the family business. She worked with politicians. And I mean, you talk
Hmm.
about lies, deceit, being completely different than what you present yourself as. She had to walk that tightrope. So I
Hmm.
think it does speak to her being able to be so savvy in those rooms, because she had to work for snakes and cover snakes' butts and doing all that stuff. So she definitely
Hmm.
knows how to pump elbows with a Manson, because she's probably representing some terrible people running for, a high politician position. So I definitely think while
Yeah.
she might not have the business savvy as a Kindle, she knows how to communicate with people in a much better manner and knows how to read a room much more than her two siblings. But before we move on, man, I'm just kind of curious on just what, so random, but the episode that shook us all, and we talked about it a little briefly, was the Logan death, man. What has been the episode so far for you this season, prior to us continuing to break down 6, that just really caught you off guard?
Um. God. Now, I mean, it's got to be the Logan death episode. It was just
Yeah,
so well constructed too. Um. It almost felt like the whole time he was just going to pop back up and be like,
yeah,
I got you to
surprise.
admit some
Right.
type of thing. Um, but let's see here. With Succession, it is like one of those shows that deals with the subtlety of it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I think the I mean, even that underlying scene where
Oh man.
they're at the wake,
Yeah.
like or that wake episode, I don't know if it was like as shocking, but it felt so significant to know that like Logan did consider Kendall to be that guy,
Hmm. Hmm.
and have that underline and have that be in contention, uh, and how quickly they just cycle up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Marsha's just selling the house to Connor.
Little spit handshake,
Uh,
3 mil.
right. The assistant Kelly is like trying to get back into the house just to grab some things,
Oh,
and she's
yeah.
dropping all of her everything everywhere.
Yeah. Carrie.
And I think that was just a well constructed episode too,
Yeah, man.
but I don't know.
No, I agree. The episode 3 definitely shook the world, and I definitely agree with you. That follow-up episode was just as fantastic. But before we get back into the breakdown, a quick question from the chat. Liv is saying, did they say anything about Shiv's pregnancy this time? So to answer that question, but also spin it to my guest here, your thoughts on Shiv's pregnancy? My biggest thing this
I
whole
must
season
have
is it
missed that.
Tom's? Yeah, she.
I thought it was just some medical issues that she was having, but it's actually a pregnancy.
Yeah, I mean, going back to our the wake episode when she gets the call from her doctor, she's 20 weeks pregnant. And I don't know if it was just like, if it's Tom's, if it's someone else's, if she, had eggs implanted in her. I don't know, man. But in this episode, I don't think they addressed it. I thought that when she was crying, as we'll get to, she was crying in the room. I thought she maybe got some bad news or something went bad with a check-in or something like that. But
She's just
man,
got a
are we
lot on
going?
her plate.
She got a lot, man. This baby, and I doubt that we'll get the pregnancy this season because every episode has just been a day after the next one. So I doubt that they'll fast forward like couple
Right.
months.
There's not going to be like some
out.
type of anime time skip or anything like that. Yeah.
But do you think the pregnancy will be a continued storyline to look
I
forward
mean,
to?
I'm like reevaluating now, and now with that context, it's kind of bringing a lot more things to light about Shiv's behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if we do get that to fruition, I hope it's Tom's, because my man Tom's going to jump off a bridge if it's not.
Or will he? I mean, tonight, man, we'll get to. This was the realest conversation they've ever had in this entire show. He was finally honest about his decision on selling her out last year, which that scene was just so great. And I think that for the first time ever, at least from the context of the show, this is the only time that Shiv has respected Tom. Like this is one, like he was actually honest to her about why he sold her out to the dad, because he likes money, as does everyone in this damn family, which we'll get into. But speaking of getting into, man, getting back into the breakdown here, and everyone keep dropping your comments in the chat. I'll try to get to them as often as I can. But getting back into it, Nine, we're in LA, man, La La Land, and studio time. We see Rome and Ken arriving to Waystar Studios, and also too, just to kind of, I guess, put in, we've never been to LA in this show, so just to kind of see them maneuver in La La Land was definitely something that I enjoyed in this episode. But we see Ken accidentally takes his sister's seat again. This is just continuation of just this passive aggressiveness of forgetting Shiv. Oh, Shiv's in the room. Oh, hey, Shiv. Just keep forgetting her and keep getting to that point. But Ken and Rome bring up their whole plan, Nine, which last week we know that they wanted to kill the deal. We know that Manson ended up raising the price to $192. It's a deal that they couldn't refuse. He went behind their backs to get the other execs to pretty much accept the deal, but they're trying to pitch Carl and Frank and everyone at the table now that Manson's a little maybe
right
not
then.
the
It
best.
just kind of felt like they were just fishing. Just kind of
Exactly,
fishing
just kind of
for
see
some
if
information, any type of dirt that would like make it sway their way.
exactly,
And I'm like,
exactly.
and that's why I'm bringing up, like, yeah, they're at this position. They don't want to let it go just so quickly.
Yep.
A week after, like, it's really been like a week since he died, right?
So we are on episode 6. He died episode 3. No, we're talking 3 days. This is only 3 days ago.
It's only
like each episode is a day of this show. So it has been 3 days since they lost their father.
Damn.
Yeah, man. So
Yeah.
it puts it even more in perspective. All these decisions, all these moves is based on grieving, man. They're not making it, to me, minus my boy Ken. To me, everyone else in this show is just, especially Roman and Shiv, are reacting negatively because of them not dealing with the fact that they lost their dad 3 years ago. Especially Roman in this episode, having Jerry being, hitting that hammer on the head, like, I need you to tell me I'm better than my dad. And it's crazy, man. So again, the idea of this episode, these shows going after a day after the next day, it just makes everything seem more heightened, that we're living in real time,
Right.
which I love.
Yeah. Exactly what you said. They're just acting out of emotion. And I gotta say, it's Kendall too, because once he heard that he would be, taking over the family business, or had that little bit of hope that his dad wanted him to do that, all of a sudden he's got that dog in him, right? I feel like if he didn't get that note, like that paper, he would be like, all right, we're going to be moving on, and we're going to build some stuff up just with the sibling.
I agree.
But since then, no, he's going to burn it all down if it doesn't work out.
Well, speaking of burning it all down, man, you mentioned it earlier with Shiv and just kind of knowing her brothers. She mentioned, when they were kids, oh, Shiv dropped some milk in the car, Dad, just to simply implying that they always lie on her name. Talk to me about Shiv, man. She questions the legitimacy of what Roman and Ken are talking about, because obviously we know earlier in the episode that she got it from the other, there's two sides of the story. The one person's other in the truth, and Manson told the truth that they were the ones that were trying to kill this deal and being very unprofessional. And Shiv's face throughout this scene in particular was just so funny, because like you said, she knew they were lying through their damn teeth.
She's got that bloodhound nose, right? She's just like, okay, come on, just say it. What you all doing? You're laying down something. Like, look at her in this right here. She's
I love it.
She is not, if looks could kill, if you could kill someone just by looking at them, she is definitely staring a hole right through both of their heads.
100%.
And they can't even stand up to a little bit of scrutiny when it comes to their little sister, big sister, or middle sister, I guess.
No, she's the young. Yeah. She's, some people corrected me. I always thought that Rome was the youngest, but she is the youngest out of all the siblings. So yeah, she's the little sister.
Yeah. Pinky, old Pinky.
Old Pinky.
But yeah, it just kind of just drives that thing home, where it's got to have been a messy childhood, because they were all striving for the throne. They all just can kind of communicate non-verbally with each other, see through each other's bullshit very easily. And once you have two of the boys co-CEOs, and this third party that feels like she should be in the trifecta too, but it's not, it's messy. It's just too messy.
Speaking of messy, man, this has to be one of the most hilarious hugs I've seen on TV in a very long time. When Shiv is, and again, you touched on it. Talk about it every week, man. These kids' emotions is like, it's foreign language to them when they have to be emotional. When Rome says, they apologize to her for lying, because she eventually gets the truth out of them, because she knew the truth from the beginning. But they admit that they were lying about throwing the deal under the table, and Rome and Ken make their apologies, and Rome, can we do the huggy thing again?
Right. Trying to recreate that scene.
That. But as you said, now
she's whispering some crazy shit in their ear, like, I will kill you.
I will murder you all.
It will be embarrassing. Like, she's whispering some crazy things. And then I like how the assistant or whatever just comes in, just kind of interrupts the moment. Like, they really don't got time for any of that shit.
Yeah, they don't, man. And, through this conversation, she reminds them that this was supposed to be a clean, we sell the company, we move forward with Pierce. What all happened during this moment? And again, Ken brings up lightly that he wants to keep the company while also keeping Pierce, and promises not to screw her over. But man, it just, I root for my man Ken, but it's just like the tugging and pulling of lying and not being honest. I mean, man, just putting your theory hat on for a second. Do you think the trust of these siblings will inevitably crumble right in front of them? I'm just going to end up going their separate ways.
They all still got their each other's knives in their backs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all of those wounds are fresh. Like, if I'm thinking about, last season when Kendall, like, drowned her out with that music
Yeah.
and
During
thing,
the cruise situation. Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, bro, like,
And then she threw him on the bus on national television, saying he's a terrible
mm-hmm,
dad and a drug addict. I mean, they cut
mm-hmm.
deep. They cut deep.
Is very ruthless. Like, if they can all put that away and still be siblings, while the throne kind of sits, quasi empty or whatever, or is
Yeah.
unsure, then uh, who I think will lose it first though is Roman.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to agree with you. I'm a
Yeah,
Roman fan, but he's not functional. He can't function without his dad.
he
We've
can't.
seen that. He
Yeah.
tries to put on the front. He tries to put on his big boy pants and fire Jerry and fire everyone that looks at him wrong. And we'll talk about the executive studio producer, but he just can't function. He doesn't know up from down, left to right, without someone necessarily giving him the orders, giving him the
Mm-hmm.
direction that he should walk in. It's been very hard to find his way. And, that might be due to him being abused as a kid and being from his dad, but also his siblings throwing him in a dog crate and
Dog
feeding him
cage or
dog.
whatever.
It's like, that's going to
But
really mess
apparently he
him up.
liked it.
It
he,
doesn't
he
surprise
may
me,
have
man. His
just done it.
family's really weird. Yeah.
But yeah, the food.
But man, let me tell you something. I don't know what is coming of this relationship and what has become of this relationship. It's very toxic. It's very I don't know, man. I'm referring to Tom and Shiv. You mentioned it earlier, briefly, that we have a moment where she walks out of the room with her brothers because she has an important meeting to go to. As we find out, this is important meeting is basically
Scheduling your
10 to
grief.
15 minutes to grief, man, which just is like, that is something to just be in awe of, that these people are just constantly moving, and not
Mm-hmm.
taking time for themselves. Because when you don't do that, you have moments like what we see with Shiv
Right.
biting her ex-husband, sleeping with her, well, not ex-husband, still husband, but just the
Yeah.
back and forth nine. Is it
Like, what
do we
about your
blame it on the
skull?
pregnancy? Do we blame it on the dad being lost, dealing with the new company? And to the time of it all, do you feel bad for Tom? Are you enjoying this back and forth of this toxicity? Talk
I
to me, Nine, about this
do
relationship,
kind of
man.
feel bad for Tom, right? Because I have the impression that, like, he had no idea what he was in for when, like, joining the family or being a part of the whole thing. Like, yeah, sure, he liked money or whatever, but
Yeah.
um Shiv is just someone that just really cannot wear her heart on her sleeve. And given the position, like, she can be mad about him fucking her over and signing with Logan that one time, but she, if the circumstances were right, would have done it to Tom 100%.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Now, I also feel bad for Shiv though. That's
Yeah.
just a lot to handle.
Yeah.
Dad's gone. Brothers are snaking you.
Mm-hmm.
Going through a divorce. To my knowledge now that she
Got a
20
baby
weeks
on the way.
pregnant with, who knows who.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be so isolating. And you
Yeah.
still have to, like, have this strong front going. Uh, you're gonna need some chewy barnacle ears or whatever. You need some tough skin, I guess. Uh, but what the fuck is going on with these two? This is the worst relationship, and it kind of reminds me of relationships I've seen before with, like, some of my friends or whatever, where
Mm-hmm.
it's just so, like, toxic and unhealthy. And I'm like, wait, you guys actually like each other, or is it just like you guys like to
Is it
fight,
just a
or
benefit or a
what's going
convenience?
on here? Right.
Yeah, man. It's, we got a bit of insight back in episode 4 where Tom approached her on a staircase and gave us a little bit of a history of when they first met. He was sending her letters. He was so romantic, and she wasn't she was in a bad spot, and he was just the right person she needed. So you can see that there was probably a sense of like normalcy prior to her getting involved in her family business. But once all
Mhm.
that happened, it all went to hell. But to answer your question, man, as far as this relationship goes, where is it going? I don't know, man. I think right now she just needs someone to lie to her, be honest with her, to be all the things that you would think someone would run away from. She's just taking it, man. It's just a
I
bad.
do appreciate that Tom seems to be like, straightening out his back, kind of standing up for himself a bit more to
Very true.
her.
Yeah,
That seems to like really vibe well for Shiv.
I
And
think she
definitely
likes it. Yeah,
yeah, she definitely likes that. And in kind of like a creepy way though, you know what I mean? Kind of like a creepy, like almost this is like how my dad would act type of way, right? Like Tom is kind of like willing to take on those character
yeah,
traits that were within Logan.
yeah.
He knows that he's like kind of entered this great game, that he's out for his own back, and that everyone else is now too. So he's
Yep.
stepping up a bit. I feel like everyone is kind of trying to step up a bit, even Greg,
Oh, my man, Greg, love him,
but
man. He's doing big things.
uh, but you know, as far as her dad just passing away a week ago, I was like, man, that's kind of weird to like hook up right there in the office or whatever and do that. It's like,
Emotions all over the place, man.
yeah.
It's and you said something too, now, as far as just kind of the Logan of it all, and them being raised as kids. I think that this is probably something that they grew up around, as far as how maybe Logan and their mom, their relationship was, and the toxicity that they probably saw on a normal basis. So I think it's one of those things that you become somewhat your environment mixed in with their own kind of crazy past relationships that we've seen on the show with her and Nate, and he mentions a couple other people that he dated in his past. So it's just an ongoing toxic relationship that they're just continuing to repeat. So
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I couldn't do it.
I can do it.
I couldn't do it
I don't
either,
have the
man.
stomach for it.
But before we move on to get into what's going on with Rome and Ken and the whole live plus for all 131 of y'all, man, we appreciate you joining us tonight on this Sunday evening talking about Succession episode 6. If you all enjoyed the episode and join me in Nine's commentary in the episode, do me a favor, man, hit that like button, share. Continue to leave your thoughts in the comments. And more importantly, man, once this, like I said, this video is completely uploaded, I'm going to leave my man Nine's information in the description of the video. So definitely make sure to subscribe to his channel. Check out his awesome content. You guys will not be disappointed. But now let me see what's going on with the people in the chat, man. We got my man Voice, Bitey, which we'll get. Man, some weird people. Some very weird people between Shiv and Tom, Dad, Shiv. Yeah, we talked about that. Michelle, what's going on, by the way? Yeah, Maddie. We'll get to my man Ken. Trying to see if anyone has any particular questions for us before we get back into it. Let's see. Quick question for you, Nine. Before we obviously wrap up this season, between season 1, 2, and 3, which one are you putting on the king of the hill as far as your favorite season of Succession?
Season 2.
Season 2, yeah.
Season 2 has some bangers,
so many great moments.
Yeah.
So many great moments. I agree with you, man. And one more question I have for you before we move on. You mentioned a couple times, them fighting for the throne, them being raised as kids. Would you ever be interested in seeing HBO, very Game of Thrones-ish, giving us a prequel series of the kids, them as kids, young Logan, and that whole dynamic? Would that be something you'd be interested in, man?
Absolutely. Like when? Okay, so when would they have been kids? Like in the 80s or 90s? I guess. 80s,
yeah, probably
80s, 90s.
Yep.
I would love to see kind of like a Reagan era period piece season of just Logan just doing some crazy shit, snaking people, rising to the top, meeting all of the old guard, as what they call it.
Back in that heyday, seeing Jerry sniffing coke before going into a meeting or something.
I want to see what my dog did to Cable in the 90s or whatever Jerry said.
See the rise of the empire. Yeah,
was that Frank or
my only fear of that, Nine, would be the casting of it all. Like, going to Game of Thrones and House and Dragon, like how they were able to do the Rhaenyra, young Rhaenyra and older Rhaenyra and the all that stuff that we saw. They did that really well, but I think it would just be such a hard thing. It would be like recasting a Ned Stark or a Cersei or a Jon, a Jon Snow. It would be really hard to cast like a young, Brian Cox as Logan, or could you imagine a young actor playing, the young version of a Roman? That would be the hard thing, is finding those perfect actors to play the younger version of what I consider to be very well written, iconic characters on TV. That would be a hard sell.
Oh, very hard sell for sure. Yeah, I can't even think of like one actor that would take over
Can
for
fill
Brian
those
Cox
shoes.
or do
Yeah,
young Brian Cox. It would just have to be someone like No Name, I guess, but
exactly. Or just de-age him, I
that
guess,
might
right?
be better.
Use
DH.
these Waystar Studio dollars and put up some de-aging technology on these
Right.
characters.
Yeah. Mr. Snip Snip, get to work.
Get him on, get him in the booth, man. But speaking of getting some studio stuff, man, as we get back into the conversation, we have Rome, and this is just one example, Nine, of Rome just running wild.
Ruthless.
The house is on fire, Nine. I'm talking about when we see Roman, who's gearing up to meet with one of the executives of Waystar Studios in LA. I believe her name was Joy Palmer. And they're just, having a little chit chat, nice little business conversation. Then the conversation turns into the ATN situation with them leading into Macon and his presidential coverage, and them really kind of leaning on him to be the next president. As we know, that was one of the big things from season 3 is who's going to be the next president they're going to push forward. And Macon right now is that candidate. Rome cuts the BS, Nine, and he can tell that she's not really seeing the Logan type of ferocity or the gravitas in the
Energy.
conversation.
Yeah.
She's kind of just like this little, as he says, oh, you just probably look at me as some a-hole kid, doesn't know what I'm doing. I'm not my dad. And she says, no, I believe, doing what someone would do in that situation. No, by no means. I'm sure that you got in this position. Right decisions
Yeah,
were made.
that was the line that kind of tipped and was like, yeah, I'm sure you
Yep.
did something very important to get into this position. I was like, oh, that's a sneak diss if I ever heard one.
and, and Nine, he proceeds to fire her.
Mhm.
No rhyme, no reason, no professionalism behind it. He is just out of control, man. Your
Well,
thoughts on Roman in this
that's
decision?
why I really love the the pull up scene. He's on the back of the golf cart, just kind of that shot with him just traveling all the way through there.
Yeah.
And you can kind of see that, like, okay, he's got a little bit of intent on his mind, right?
Mhm.
Like he's not going
Mhm.
to be playing no games. Um, but Succession has this weird way of conducting their conversations where, like really, if you take everything on just that surface level, you'll
Mhm.
be like, what the hell is actually happening here?
Right.
Like,
Right.
what exactly was the conversation about?
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, basically, like you said, as soon as it got to the point where Roman didn't believe that she respected him as much as she
Yep.
respected his father, that's when he said, "Away with you."
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And I feel like little did he know that this chick is kind of like a boss dog, right? You can't
Yeah.
just get rid of, can't just burn that bridge. The bridge is a bit too big, right? And it links to other bridges, right?
This would be, in our superhero nerdum fandom, this would be like someone in Disney going to Kevin Feige and fire him on the spot.
Right.
This would be like if Bob Chapek, before Bob Iger came back, met with Kevin
Mhm.
Feige and was like, "Hey, Kevin, I want you to do this, this is that," and Kevin's giving him a little pushback. And this would be
Mhm.
if Bob Chapek just fired Kevin Feige on the spot. All hell
Right.
would break loose if that happened. And this is
All
what
hell
essentially
would
what
break
Roman's
loose.
doing right now.
Or yeah, exactly. Kevin Feige or Filoni or someone
Yeah,
like just getting rid of someone like that,
crazy.
and you don't know the amount of pull that this person has,
Yes.
and and I imagine that like with running that type of business, like you need that pull. You need as
Yeah,
many different horses in the stall as possible that people are willing to bet on, and cutting
100%.
off like someone that is that influential
Mhm.
just off of your gut feeling. I was like, come on,
It's
Roman.
not a good
Come
look.
on, Roman.
Which
Where's it going to stop?
which brings me to my next question for you, Nine, is do you think this will have ramifications on
It's
not only
got
just
to.
Roman, but just the company in general?
It reminds me of Twitter, Elon Musk like firing some random dude through a tweet or some shit like that. And it turns out that this guy had like $150 million golden parachute or something crazy out of that
Yeah.
number, right? And then Elon was like, you know what? Actually, I didn't
Backtrack.
actually want to,
Let me back it up a little bit.
right. You need to actually stay on. But yeah, I feel like it might be something like that type of situation,
Yeah.
or it's just going to piss the wrong people off, where Roman is going to be on the chopping block. I think
Mm.
we already seen him, you know, lose a little bit of pull for this episode, right? Like he
100%.
made the wrong decision at the end of the episode to not, stand side by
Join his
side, right?
brother on the stage. Yeah, he
Uh,
made it. Yeah, he
and
doubted him.
we could talk about that later, but I'm
Yeah,
not sure if I, I don't think Shiv had really any intent on doing that, but she
yeah,
definitely played a part in him
mm,
making that decision.
100%,
Um,
100%, man.
so yeah, he's emotional as hell right now.
He is. He's acting out again. They're all kind of acting, besides my boy Ken, out of emotion, and he is to a certain degree, but not to the detriment of the integrity and potentially the company. Which, speaking of the MVP of tonight, Nine, talk to me about my man who's having dreams of building houses on stage, having this high-end production,
I
just
saw it
these
in Berlin.
ridiculous moments, man. And I don't know if the Denny. I'm a big Denis Villeneuve fan, and I don't know if they
Uh,
were trying to make it seem like he was a Denis Villeneuve standing or whatnot, or what it be, because he in Hollywood. But let me know, man. What was you thinking about Ken on Cloud Nine at this point? Building houses, building this cloud, and the say no policy. As Ken is kind of, they're just Ken. We're watching Roman just fire someone. Ken making all these crazy demands. The power nine is just getting to these kids' head.
yeah, I mean, build me a house tomorrow.
In 24, less than 24 hours. Yeah.
What are you talking about? For what? Where the house isn't going to look like the house that people are going to be staying at. Like,
Yeah.
no way. What is the point of us doing that? But Kendall's always been like that. I feel like there's always episode in the season where Kendall's just kind of like going a little bit too ham on his design sense.
Yeah.
Um, I really love the scene from last season where Kendall's just up on stage testing out karaoke and just kind of singing honesty or whatever.
Yep.
And and yeah, he's got a little bit of he's got some theatrics in him, right? He seems to take a lot of pride into that shit, but doesn't actually understand the scalability of making it work. And his executing all of his ideas, right?
Yeah.
And that's when it kind of gets a bit more emotional for him.
Mm-hmm. Listen, this is my boy, man, but he sometimes needs some boundaries and some limitations, man, because when you give him all the power, he comes up with this kind of crazy idea to, like you said, build a sound stage and build homes and clouds, and it's just just seeing all these people running around looking at him being like, what are these kids doing? And that's what I just kept saying. This is 30 minutes into the episode. I'm like, this is just crazy, man. We're seeing them literally not knowing, they're not grounded right now. They're all just doing things they're just reacting, just doing things that they think their dad might do by firing someone if you look at them wrong. Think that Ken, stepping up and changing things on the fly might keep people on their toes. It's just a mess, man. It is just a mess, my friend.
Straight up tribute band.
Yes. As Logan said, RIP, you are not serious people.
They are really
and
not.
He was speaking facts, man. But before we get into the fun time with Shiv and Tom, Bitey Bite session, let us know in the chat, guys, how you all were feeling up to this point in the episode. Before we detour back into the conversation, throw any comments you guys might have for me and Nine regarding this episode. But Nine, man, before we get into some of these questions here, very curious on just what was it that attracted you? I know we kind of talked about it earlier, but what was it that was the selling point for you to really be on board with the show? Was it more or less the writing, the subject matter of seeing these people dealing with their daily lives and the money decisions? Was it the acting? What was it necessarily that kept you on board with the show when you got started?
I was hooked from episode 1. I'm saying almost the first scene when we see Kendall just rolling up, listening to what the Beastie Boys, and he thinks that he's going to be getting the position then, and it was just kind of hypnotic. I was like, what is this show? How come no one is talking about it? It felt and I love video editing, and I haven't seen that style that it's Arrested Development type of style, or it's got that documentary type of feel to it with the camera work. I was just kind of like entranced by it from episode 1, trying to figure out what exactly was going to happen.
Right.
Um, and then just of course the allure of all of the super rich things going on. They're just balling out, and yeah, the acting is just
Yeah, man.
and sometimes
It's-
I hear these like the regular, just the actors talk, and I'm like, oh, you guys are acting your asses off. You guys
Mhm.
don't even portray these semblance of these characters in your like regular demeanor, right?
Right. Right.
They are really putting on a show here.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. And the stories have been out there with Jeremy Strong. He's a method actor, and there's been some controversy on set with
Yeah.
that with him and Brian Cox. But yeah, they become these characters. And I'll never
That
forget
would be so annoying though if Kendall was
if you embody
method
Kendall.
acting and he's just acting like that all the time to
It
you.
would be pretty annoying,
I
I would
think I
say.
might scrap that
But hey,
motherfucker,
man,
bro.
everyone has their
Like he says
their
the wrong thing, like just offset. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Okay, yeah.
I agree, man. But no, I'm same with you, man. The thing that got me so involved was number one, anything HBO. I'm always just intrigued with just because of, they are the crown, the kings of dramas and anything you can think of in the genre base. But the thing that also sold me, you mentioned the camera style. I'm a big Adam McKay fan. I know he's the executive producer of the show, The Big Short and everything. The way he is kind of like, it's very, like you said,
Oh,
like a
right,
doc.
yeah,
Everything's
yeah.
just kind of in
Mhm.
emotion, and you kind of like, is this real? Is this fake? And of course, they base this on a lot of different real life billionaire families. So yeah, that was the thing that really caught me. Is just the HBO branding, the Adam McKay being behind it, and then falling in love with these characters that are just despicable people, and you just
Mhm.
can't keep your eyes off of them, man. They're just
Yeah,
the train wreck.
crazy how you can find someone to root for.
Yeah,
Someone said
100%.
this voices in Espanol in episode 1 when they showed Logan Incontinent. I was like, whoa, HBO isn't going to pull any punches on this takedown on the Rich. Yeah, it,
Oh,
it,
right
it
there.
just created such a unique situation,
Mm,
where you're like, okay, is this like almost slightly based on a true story or
right.
something? Like all of these characters have something going on. The gears are kind of spinning every single it really helps when all of the characters actions have a consequence or have a push to the story,
Hmm.
and may not be revealed until a little bit later,
Yeah.
uh and it's such a good premise of we know that something is going to happen where one of the kids, someone's going to have to take over the business. Who is it going to be?
Yeah.
And I'm going to find out. Like,
Yeah.
very solid, strong through.
I agree, man. And I think we do have there was a question for us, Nine, from the homie Stress Free K. Ellie, do you think Kindle's Living Plus plan will work in Manson price or price out Manson? I'm gonna toss it to you first, Nine. Do you think that this plan of the numbers, pushing the numbers, selling this Living Plus will work, and will Manson's, which is right now at 192, do you think Manson is gonna bump that up?
I feel like not a chance, right? Because doesn't it just sound like a scam? Like it sounds like a very big like pump and dumps type of scheme, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Where who would actually want that, or uh I'm not going to pretend like I'm some type of like stock trading business executive or whatever,
yeah.
but it does seem like, whenever people like catch wise to how this thing is actually going,
Hmm.
that price is going to plummet.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. It may be good in the moment, but well, unless that's their play, they just want it to be good in the moment
Hmm.
so they can kill the deal and then, deal with the backlash afterwards. But for right now,
Yeah.
that's going to be a risky take right there.
Very much so, man.
What
And
about
to
you?
answer, well said, man. And to answer the question here from Stress, I think if Ken believes in it, it will happen. If Ken believes, it will happen. No, but I don't know, man. It'll be really curious to see if this plan shakes out or not, and if Manson's gonna continue to want to be invested, because I think he has this whole thing of getting back at them for that whole conversation they had last week. So I wouldn't be surprised if he won't call their bluff and be like, oh yeah, I'll
Mhm.
put down 200, 205, 215, just keep going up until he gets what he
Right,
wants. So
because like,
it's going
didn't
to be
he raise
interesting.
it to? It
He
went from
started at
142 to
142 to then jumping up to 192. So I think he has the equity and the
Right
liquid
after that
to put that up.
conversation,
Yeah.
he's just like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, man. So great question, Stress. And keep the questions coming, guys. We'll try to get to them as often as we can. But to get back into our toxic favorite couple, Night fun in LA.
Mm-hmm.
9, we see Tom and Shiv. They run into each other. It's mentioned earlier when it was briefly mentioned when Shiv was in the room crying. You briefly heard Greg say to him, "Oh, let's look at our prospects for the night," alluding to this party that they're going to. And all of a sudden, 9, they're doing bar for bar. And by the way, I don't want to skip over that they did have sex in the office room. And
Mm-hmm.
now they're acting weird again, or at least Shiv's acting weird towards them. Like, didn't y'all just hook up, or are you not on? What is going on? What is?
Mm-hmm.
You guys are all over the place. But she's throwing bars at him as she's been doing the last few weeks, and
Right.
we see her talking about, "Oh, Tom, let me pick your girl for the night," and all this stuff. And Tom, like you said earlier, he's not folding. He's like, "All right, sure, let's play your game, Shiv." And
Mm-hmm.
speaking of playing games, they play this biting game of just like literally physically, as they saw last week. Tom flicks her in the ear. She's
Right.
throwing rocks at his shoes. 9, are they gonna kill each other by the end of this show, man? Like, what in the heck is
Right,
going on
right.
with
I
Shiv and
think about
Tom?
the Dave Chappelle skit where it's the gang war
I
that
know exactly
started
what you're
with the
talking about.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Because man, you're saying my sneakers are too white. Okay, yeah. Back the fuck up. But yeah, there's something like very cute about it, but so psychotic, right?
It's mental
Like
gymnastics. They're playing with each other right now.
I can't. I'm not that flexible for it because listen, right in the middle of a party, bite my arm.
In front of everyone. No
Okay.
shame. No shame. I mean,
I
it is LA. It's
mean,
La La Land.
right.
I'll
But I'm
agree with
saying
you. That's just
it's like no, y'all go together then. Like
yeah.
you're not walking out of here with anybody else but her if you're
Right.
in the middle of the party at the bar just biting each other's arms.
Going full
Have you
Army
ever
Hammer.
played
Going
that
full Army
game?
Hammer,
Is
man.
that something that people do?
Never heard of it, my friend. I mean, of course, you've been in a relationship, and you and your partner might, little like games like that is just like tickling each
Right.
other or something to that limit, but not biting
But
each other
not
to someone
yeah.
literally quits, man. It's a game
Shiv
I've never
is
heard of, man.
yeah, Shiv is a bit too ruthless, a bit too gangster for me. But it is kind of like sad. Like that seems to be the only way that they are able to communicate. Uh, I
It's hurting each other.
remember in that scene, like Tom saying, like, it seemed like he was being very serious
Yeah.
then when he said, like, I'm sorry about what happened to us.
Mm-hmm.
He fucked up when he said, I'm sorry I fucked you up.
Right.
Because that's taking a lot more liberty.
Yep.
You're putting yourself a bit too high right there. And she's definitely going to fight back against,
Mm-hmm. He
oh
said,
no,
you
you
think
didn't
you,
do
oh,
shit.
you think, yep.
Oh yeah, exactly. You ain't
Yeah.
shit, motherfucker. Right.
I love it, man.
But but at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, he probably did know that he was going to get that type of reaction in his
Mm.
learning to kind of like play these games with her. But
Yeah.
I think deep down that Tom definitely wants to be with Shiv, but Shiv is kind of still like, I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
Good stuff, man. I mean, you said a lot of good things there. That just reminds me of number one. You said the way that they're communicating is just like this is the best way to communicate is hurting each other. Because throughout the
Some
first
Army
3
Hammer stuff.
seasons, it was just Shiv wearing the pants and Tom just saying yes, ma'am, sure, dear. And it wasn't until he screwed her over she really realized that he has a voice. He can make his own decisions that doesn't involve her. And I think that just completely caught her off guard. But yeah, their level of communication right now is just who can cut each other the hardest. And like you just mentioned, she talks about, you think you screwed me over, this, that, and the other. Oh, you ain't got nothing on what I can do. So it's toxic. It's very just left field for both of these characters. And I will say, man, you talked about it earlier. Shout out to Tom. Shout out to Tom to finally playing these games. These games with her, man. But let us know in the comments, guys. How do you feel about this toxic relationship? Do you root for Tom? Do you root for Shiv? Are you just done with both of them? Let us know. Let us know. But getting back into what's going on with the brothers, man. There, again, we see Ken coming up with the idea with the unbelievable growth, and he's talking to Rome and talking to Greg, who's taking notes. Live more forever, man, and they are just playing it. It's like one of those things where you're with your boys and you're just talking out of your ass about just this, that, and the third, but they're actually following through with it. About following through with this plan, man. And I want to get your thoughts, Nan, on just Greg in general. How do you feel about the character, and more importantly, him just latching on to anyone that he can to continue to live this luxurious lifestyle that he's had since season one or two?
Yeah, Greg got just like a little bit of the taste, right? And now
Yeah.
he's just full circle into this. Willing to sell his soul, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of funny because I feel like Greg is kind of like mockingly how, who the audience is supposed to be relating
Right.
to the most.
He's
Like,
kind of our entry point into their lifestyle. Yeah.
right, right. So we're supposed to be kind of like the surrogate. He's our surrogate,
Yeah.
which is kind of offensive when you look at it, like with how Greg is. Just general demeanor and his. I don't want to say he's dim-witted, but at the same time, if I was just all of a sudden, oh, I have a billionaire uncle
Right.
that wants me to come work for him and I'm just entered into that lifestyle, yeah, it'll probably be, and all of these people are just like cutting their throats. All these people are, stabbing each other in the back, and I gotta vibe out with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that I'm going to become a better person. I'll probably have to leave the life before I actually become a better person in that type of world,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that's just because I like know myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not, because if I'm going to play the game, then I'm going to have to learn how to play the game, and I
Right.
don't think you can become a better person by learning how to play that type of game.
Greg, and there's so many parallels to me with this show and like a Game of Thrones, but Greg to me in a less goofy matter, how we saw Sansa, right?
Mm-hmm.
From the Game of Thrones, how she was just
Mm-hmm.
so about that lifestyle, but when she actually finally married Joffrey and married into the family, how just she saw it was just completely different than what she thought. But the thing that I'm comparing Sansa to Greg is she kind of eventually learned, right? She was so
Mm-hmm.
just not looking at the red flags, not noticing all the things. But eventually, by the end of the season, we saw how much of a boss she became. And I'm not saying that Greg's going to get to that level. He's going to be on the King of the North, but
Mm.
I do see Greg allowed his environment to kind of create himself. And like you just said, he's playing the game. He's playing the smart
Mm-hmm.
game. And it's almost he's taking it all in. And someone mentioned in the comments now that Greg is kind of becoming unappealing. I disagree, man, because I just love that he's not encouraging this behavior, but I love that he is, like you said, now is playing the game. He couldn't be the same
Mm-hmm.
Greg in season one, throwing up in a mascot outfit and just
Right. Yeah.
being a complete idiot. He still is, to a degree, still an idiot, but he is
Yeah.
a smart idiot.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
that. I think someone said it before. He's always doing the wrong thing at the right time or coming like it's something of a sense of like he
He,
just finds himself in
he,
situations.
he's turned into a little bit of a pick me though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm like, okay, man, you are really doing whatever. But if that's what the game calls for, and what like hundreds of millions, what quasi billions are on the line, you're in that
Yeah.
position.
Yeah, man.
Whew, yeah.
It's tough. It's tough.
I may be
Time is
holding on to the envelope.
yeah.
Who knows?
Greg,
you
man,
know.
that's my guy, man. But before we move on, just to check in with the chat, man. Again, 158 live on this Sunday evening. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like,
Damn.
share, comment, subscribe, and again, once this video is completely uploaded, this wonderful person you guys see on screen here that has the great takes, the great comedic timing, man. Check out 9 Nerd Yards. The link can be found in the description of this video. But before we move on, man, I'm seeing just some comments and everyone. I live with the time and shift toxicity.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Whatever method is worth. Yeah, I mean, you can't listen. Now we talked about earlier. He is a method actor, and to some extent, you hear the horror stories of Jared Leto giving people dead rats and condoms
Right.
on the sets of Suicide Squad. It's just like that's too far. If
It's too
you're
much.
in character on certain like if you're in character, but you're not
Mhm.
affecting anyone and sending people dead rats, that to me, is not crossing the line. But
Yeah.
again, a King character, I would imagine being on set, and if he's in character, could be a little bit annoying at times. But
Right. Yeah,
the
just annoying.
Emmys speak
Just
louder than than anything in some cases. He said cousin Greg is gonna pull some ruthless powers move and shock us all. What do you think now? You think that's something in the future?
uh I like how because there was like a little bit of fan theory that Greg is going to end up the next
End up on top?
CEO or
Oh,
whatever, end
I
up
hope
on top.
that
And
would be crazy.
on that piece of paper that uh
Logan had his
there's
name
just
was
like
on there.
Greg with a question mark.
Hey, just the fact he was on
Yeah.
Logan's mind speaks a lot, right?
Hmm. But yeah,
Um,
Greg has definitely gotten a bit meaner though.
oh yeah, 100%,
He's
100%,
definitely gotten meaner.
100%. Yeah, the Army Hammer. Yeah, they definitely taking a page out of his
Arm
book.
E Hammer.
Army, yeah, I love it, Abby. Love it, love it. Succession. So we were talking about earlier the Succession prequel. We got some people that would definitely be down for that. Good stuff, guys. The Disgusting Brothers. Yeah, put that on the shirt now.
The
Disgusting
Disgusting
Brothers, man,
Brothers.
coming through, just
Yeah.
being disgusting. But
Not us, by the way.
not us.
But
Yeah, we're not the
yeah.
Disgusting Brothers. We're the Atlanta Brothers.
We're the polite brothers.
But speaking of this, not even necessarily toxic, but just a weird relationship in general, Nine, and that is a relationship between Jerry and Roman. And in particularly, we saw in the last season and a half this very weird relationship where Roman was getting off on her, giving him, negative notes and talking down to him, and so on and so forth. And just a couple weeks ago, we saw Roman was given the task by his dad. His last request by his dad, matter of fact, was to fire Jerry, which he did, but it kind of got pushed back with all the stuff going on. But Jerry comes to Roman 9 after she finds out about the news of him firing the executive producer, and a decision. And Jerry just pretty much tells him it's a shit show. The decision you made is going to literally cause so much backlash, so much, someone's going to probably get sued, and it's not going to probably be a good thing. And we see Rome as kind of like, I don't have to justify why I do what I do. I'm the COO, and I can do what I want. And 9, when he looks at her, and which is one of my favorite scenes of this episode, and looks at her and say, I need you to tell me that I'm better than my father. And Jerry's rebuttal of like, do you want me to say it or do you want me to believe it?
Yeah.
And going back to your comments, 9, the same, almost much different wording, obviously, but the same thing of questioning his power, as the executive producer did earlier about, do you think, I can't conduct this meeting? And Jerry pushed it back on him like, do you really want me to give you the answer? And as soon as he heard that, he fires Jerry 9.
Mm-hmm.
This man is out of control.
You don't fuck with Jerry. Like, that should be the top rule of the show. You don't fuck with Jerry. You've gone way too far. You're out of pocket. You're out of control. And given their like history too, the fact that they have like sexual history together,
which is crazy. Just knowing the fact that Jerry was watching him as a kid, like babysitting maybe one night or something.
That's pretty crazy.
Very,
especially it really rings it in when Kendall goes, "Wait, you fired Jerry? Shiv's godmother, Jerry?"
Yeah,
I was like, "Oh, that's a little bit too deep right there." And all because of what, like, this weird sense of pride that you want everybody else to get on board with, just to feed your own ego because your dad can't anymore. Yikes. And we definitely feel the effects of all of that at the end of the episode. And it gets a little bit really weird with Roman. But, Roman is kind of letting me down this season. He's been kind of letting me down. He doesn't seem he seems just as snappy or witty, but like not as on top of the ball. Again, I keep on going back to that tribute band shit, and it's because they are just pretending to be their fathers. It seems like they're playing house right now.
Yeah. 100%, man. And so I've actually, prior to these last few episodes, I was actually kind of proud of Roman, just because compared to Shiv and Ken, he was the only one that seemed to somewhat want to get their own business started. But then once his big brother kind of got in his head about them running stuff and them running the company, kind of got him off kiltered. And of course, with the loss of his dad, and we know how much his dad and him controlling his life is such a integral thing in his life. So he's definitely been slipping back in the
And
last
he's
few
been a
weeks for me.
lot more open about
Yeah.
like how the loss of his dad has been affecting him,
Affected him.
or a
Yeah.
bit out loud, right?
Right.
And you kind of notice that like in this episode when he fires the other lady, right?
Yeah.
That's when he's like, "Oh, I don't need any condolences or whatever," and you know, I'm not going to accept your, you know, your sorries or whatever. And when it seems like when he's on that, you know, it's like that demon time. You know what I'm saying? Like he's on demon time right now. That his father has been like, yo, and now that he's been put into the reins, put on that position where he's got control. It seems like he only knows how to pretend to be his dad.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of like, oh yeah, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. And that's all that he actually gets to come across as.
Yeah. And
Whereas
this is,
like, okay, where are your ideas though? Like how
yep.
come you're not, you know, maneuvering or like pushing an agenda? I
Yeah.
really don't know where Roman's character is going this season. And I think that's what kind of disappoints me about it.
No, I hear you, man. I definitely hear you. And it's something too, just kind of just going back to your point about the firing aspect of it, just going back to when he was so scared to fire Jerry a couple weeks ago, or in real time a couple of days ago in the show, to now he's just firing people on a drop of a hat. Because like you said, I think that he thinks this is the best thing that his dad would do. Again, he's just trying to, you know, what would Jesus do? What would Logan do? Type of a mantra in his head. And this wouldn't be the move. I'd tell you that. Firing. And also too, in the climate of, you know, women being treated differently than men in the workplace. These are two women that he's firing in one episode. So I mean, the optics of it all, it's just like it's gonna crash and burn in Roman's face, man. So
I doubt that Jerry's actually going to be fired. Like
yeah.
we that remorse, you know, like as soon as he walked away from that, he was just like, ah, fuck, what did I
He knew
do?
he spoke too
And
soon.
Kendall kind of like, it was just like, okay, yeah, no, like, okay. But I doubt that that's gonna actually
Stick
turn
through.
out.
Yeah, no,
Or
100%
that
no.
this, you know, we're not going to be seeing Jerry. I think Jerry's definitely going to be like the last episode of the season,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And be
100%.
around.
Which, I mean, to your point now, and just to touch on it, perfect segue to Ken's reaction is he's just like, okay, big little bro, I like what you're doing. He's like, you're just firing on all cylinders. They're gonna fire me next. And I think that that validation he didn't expect. He was kind of just like he was hoping. He went to Kendall and said, yeah, we're gonna probably have to backtrack on that. I'm gonna need you to clean up my mess in aisle 5. But Ken's like, no, little bro, this is exactly what I want. Let's kick out the
Which
old
was kind
guard
of
and
weird
create something new.
because I feel like they haven't really been on the best like vibe, right? They haven't really been
Right.
working too well together as much as I
Yeah.
thought they would be.
Ken didn't tell him about the whole throwing their dad under the bus and throwing those news articles under the bus on the day of the wake. So they should, yeah, I totally agree with you, man.
Yeah, very
It's crazy.
interesting. Do you think it will come down, or like what do you think is going to be the most like divisive factor between these two characters?
I think it's going to come down to the Mencken situation, the presidential, which I think is they've been prepping this for so long. But I think that, you know, because we obviously know that was Rome's guy, I think that maybe, you know, Ken at the last minute is going to want to push someone else to be, you know, running for president. Or I mean, it can come down to something about their dad, man. It can get to that level of just like either Ken says something or does something, which we'll talk about the literally disrespect of him using his father's, you know, edited out video and making it work to his advantage, which was just completely like to the highest level of disrespect. But I don't know, man. I think that this is gonna, because I remember in the trailer there's a scene where we see Ken like almost choking Rome or putting his hands on his face or around
Oh
his
no,
mouth.
I
So
didn't even
it's
notice that.
coming,
Yeah.
man. That brotherly love will be running short. That tank will be running low,
Yeah, it
man.
seems like they're on a balancing act, right? Because now that Kendall's kind of got like a little bit more pull with that deal, you know, Roman wasn't on stage with him doing that. So that balance is a bit shifted. And so it was already a delicate situation already.
I agree, man. And going back to just delicate situations before we get into the chat is I want to get your thoughts now. Going back to our favorite couple tonight, your thoughts on the realest conversation, or as Tom or Shiv calls it, the truth bombs are coming out. She
Mm,
comes to him after, again, they had sex for the second time in this episode. She comes to Tom and she wants a little bit of advice with the Madison situation, which to me was like, wait a minute, you want advice from the same guy that threw her on the bus last season?
mhm,
I don't know if Tom is just kind of wrapping her. I don't know if Tom's playing her, if I'm being honest with you, Nine.
mhm,
Like, I wonder if he's playing her
mm,
this whole time. But truth bombs come out, Nine, and I want to get your thoughts, man. The big question is, why did he sell his wife out last season to her father and telling Logan what they were going to do and make that move behind his back? And he just flat out tells her he likes money, Nine, as
mhm.
everyone in this show does. And everyone in the world likes money, right? And sometimes
Right.
money is the root of all evil, but he is honest with her, Nine. And this honesty led to Shiv appreciating him telling her that. She's,
Mhm.
he says, would you throw away the watches, the nice cars, the luxury, and move with me in a trailer park? And Shiv tells him, I would follow you anywhere for love. Nine,
So
man,
so Shakespearean, right?
so Shakespearean.
Right? Because like it's another one of those conversations is like, okay, what's actually going on under the layer here, right? Uh and when you look at it, what it basically came down to is we're both pretty terrible people
hmm
out for
hmm
ourselves.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, don't we do it better together? Right? We're not
Yeah.
going to be, going off and living off a trailer park like Tom suggested. We're just not. We're either going to be fighting for this until the day we die,
hmm
uh, and stabbing each other in the back and getting back at each other forever, or we can do it together a little bit. And I feel like they kind of mended something important, or kind of like reached a new understanding in their relationship.
Yeah.
Mm,
I agree, man. This is
what you feel?
I feel like the level of honesty and just straight up just being truthful with each other in this moment. And again, the money being the root of their happiness. Like you said, man, why can't we just be miserable together? Live
Hmm.
this kind of happy fake life, and while making hand over fist money, man. It's like this shot here, man. It's just summarizes just their relationship right now. It's just like, look at these two just smiling like nothing's wrong. I love it. I love it, man.
Yeah, and they gotta be both like crazy. Some type of like narrow divergencies with both of them living that lifestyle, because how accepting they are of this relationship, the toxicity. It's
Yeah.
just like every day, just, I'm not sure if I'm really even wearing my real face, like if
Right.
I'm uh being myself ever. Um and there is that quick moment where, what was it? Right at the end of that, he goes, I would like this back.
Yeah. Yep.
Uh, but he kind of lays down the terms that it's going to be different. Like, I'm
hmm
not going to
hmm
be,
Not gonna
your
bend
puppy
over.
dog.
Yep.
I'm not
Yep.
going to accept being compartmentalized
Yep.
into whatever box that you want to put me in.
hmm
Right. Um, and honestly, like, yeah, you probably should have had that conversation before you got married,
Before you
but
got married. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
100%.
but
100%.
yeah, it
Yeah.
does seem like it's like they mended something new there. Like they never had that type of
Turning the
respect for each
page.
other.
Yeah. No, I agree with you now. Yeah. To that point, to the conversation they had, again, going back to his truth bomb, that it all boiled down to not only money, but she didn't allow him to be in the room in the conversations, especially when she was going to be potentially the CEO, when Logan kind of granted her that access for a couple episodes in season 2. But yeah, man, it's going to be really interesting to see how they maneuver in these next few episodes. Again, the whole the baby of it all, like, will she inevitably tell him? Because there has yet to been a conversation between these two about the baby. So again, it's just like what is holding her back from telling him that she is pregnant? Is it because she doesn't want to be in this relationship, this family with Tom, and rebuild essentially a 2.0 version of what she grew up with? Is it not Tom's? There's just so much question marks about this whole baby situation that I don't know if it's going to implode in his face. He accepts her in, and then she drops this on his lap. It's gonna be wild, man. It's gonna be wild whenever this comes. Yeah, man. Whenever it appears. But before we get back into it, man, again, if you guys have any questions for us while we're wrapping up the rest of this episode, let me know. Random question for you, Nine, while people maybe drop some comments in the chat and I'll pull them up. You seen any good movies lately, man? Completely left field, but any good movies that you've seen? We got Air in theaters. Which I thought was fire. I don't know if you're a big horror fan.
I haven't been to the theater. I haven't been to the theater. I've seen some bad movies lately. I can't even remember. It was Chris Evans and Ana de Armas on like
Ghosted.
Apple TV show.
Yeah,
Ghosted,
yeah.
And that movie was so ridiculous. It was actually kind of fun, but
you didn't like the I don't want to spoil anything for those that haven't seen it, but you didn't like the I'll just say cameos.
That was actually the funniest part, right? Yeah, with the Hawk and the Winter Soldier and that thing. So that was pretty fun.
That was very fun.
I did just binge Beef though, and I know you covered that show.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that has talk about a dark cloud over show. That unfortunately situation with the cousin, the actor. I don't know if you know too much about that, but yeah.
What?
Well, yeah, I'll tell you off stream. Some very disturbing drama with the show. But yeah, what did you think about Beef, man?
I loved it.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool. Binged watched it. Ali Wong and Stephen Yeun, they did their damn thing right there. Like it's not anything about them, right?
Yes and no.
Okay.
But
all right.
Kind of. Okay. Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you about it. It's a whole situation. But yeah, that was a great show. Yeah, man. But yeah, movie wise, it's been a little. I saw not Thor, but Guardians the other night, man. I don't know if you're a Guardians.
Okay. Thumbs up, thumbs down. I'm sure there's
a
review embargo going right now.
No, embargo lifted Friday, man. It's okay. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, man. If you're a fan of the Guardians, you're definitely, for everyone in the chat, for any Marvel fans.
I think I'll check that out in theaters. I kind of made like a conscious choice that I wasn't going to watch Quantum Mania in theaters.
You missed it out, bro.
Yeah.
So it'll be on Disney Plus in a couple weeks too, anyway.
Right. And but you're saying, would Guardians be a good theater watch?
Oh, 100%, man. If you can, biggest and loudest theater you can go to, because it was shot entirely in IMAX, and this is definitely worth the price of admission.
I'm definitely down for that. I'm definitely gonna probably check that out. Comes out next week.
Yeah, on Friday, man. Yeah, definitely.
Definitely this Friday.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I'm about to do it.
Let me see some other comments here. We'll get back into it. Are you there, God? Margaret's me. Listen, I pride myself on diversifying my movie palette and just watching things that I might not normally watch on a regular basis. This is one of them. Shout out to Zia. I don't know if you're familiar with the book that came out, I believe in the like 70s or 80s. But they made a movie about it, essentially about a young girl in the 70s going through being a girl, being a 12-year-old, going to 6th and 7th grade. It was a really good film. Now, again, I don't know if it's
I'll check it out. Like,
it's a nice heartwarming film.
I like coming of age type films or whatever. And you said Judy Blume or something?
I think that's the writer. Yeah, I think that's the writer, if I'm not mistaken. Who wrote this.
I saw you post something about it, but
yeah, it was short.
I'll definitely check that out too. There's a lot of movies that I really need to get to. Been watching a lot of TV shows. Like I said, we're covering Dave. Just got done with The Mandalorian or whatever. And
I got you, man. Before we get this quick, I haven't got a chance to watch you guys. I watched most of you guys' coverage because I'm a big Mandalorian fan. But what did you think about, just generally speaking, before we get back into it? Thumbs up or thumbs down for season 3 of The Mandalorian? Was it your favorite?
I give it a thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Okay.
I give it a thumbs up. I understand the problems that people had with it.
Yeah.
But I would actually say, and maybe I'm biased because this is like my first time doing a review of the
Or
season,
covering it. Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
like just kind of like
You have a
covering
different
it
perspective
all.
on it. Yeah.
Right. So I maybe because I was thinking about it so much or whatever, having
Yeah.
people to talk to about it regularly, I had a lot of fun covering the season. And there is some pretty standout moments, some really cool standout moments in it. So if
Yeah,
you haven't
man.
watched it yet, and you're a Star Wars fan, I think it's worth the watch.
I agree. It was my favorite. I'll say that. And I'm a big.
Mhm.
I like Katie Sackhoff, and I really enjoy the Bo-Katan character. This is someone that's I never watched Rebels
It was
or
her
Clone
season,
Wars.
basically.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. And I thought she killed it, man. I did. I did miss obviously the Din and now Din
Mhm.
Grogu relationship being kind of on the back burner. But yeah, I think as
Mhm.
people have talked about, it's called The Mandalorian, and I was never meant to just be one, cover of
Mhm.
a perspective. So yeah, man, I was a fan, even though
I don't think
I
Pedro
will.
Pascal was ever on set.
Yeah, yeah, they say he wasn't because he
I'm
was doing The Last of Us.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure like they could have literally like just stood up the Mandalorian suit
yeah, that's
empty
pretty much.
as hell
Yeah,
and
yeah.
just like have him just cut to
I agree.
him.
I agree, man. But look, man, we can talk about all this stuff all day because we love a lot of the same stuff, man. But getting back into the discussion again, guys, we appreciate you joining us tonight. And we're gonna wrap it up here in a little bit as far as just kind of breaking down the last final scenes. But getting into it now, man, we kind of get a couple brief scenes of seeing Greg making those edits that we'll talk about here in this very interesting moment of glory from Ken. We have a moment with Shiv on the phone with Manson while Tom is in the room, pushing the brothers to not push through with this Living Plus, which is just, again, we now see Tom and Shiv now are on the same page. It's just like my mind is being blown right now. But speaking of your minds and projects and things not going together, Ken is on stage now, 9, and this whole plan of having a house in the clouds is just falling apart. And we're seeing Shiv talking to Rome, being like, we need to control Ken. Because every time Ken does, he got that look in his eyes. He got that
You got that
that
glint,
that
yeah.
that look, man. And this is where the conversation and the idea comes into Ken's forefront or in his front door. We see Roman go into his brother's dressing room and just drops a bomb on him. And that's essentially not having faith in his brother. He
Mhm.
questions if Ken will crack under pressure. And I'll be honest with you, 9, Ken is my boy, but I will admit when the pressure's on, he never delivers
Mhm.
until this episode 9. We
Mhm.
see him, and not just Roman doubting him and Shiv doubting him, but then Carl, out of
Carl
nowhere,
gets a
Carl gets
spine.
in on my man Ken. And I ain't gonna lie,
Big
9,
dog.
I had a good laugh out of that because we've seen Carl, Frank, Jerry, Hugo, all of them just get pushed over by not only Logan, reasonably so, but now he's like, listen, I've been pushed. Carl goes himself, I've been pushed over by your dad for so many years. I just kind of took it. But the last thing I'm gonna do is have these little brat kids tell me what to do.
Well,
9,
I like
talk to
that
me.
he said that, I took a lot of shit from your dad, but that's because we went through the trenches together. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I saw your dad become a general.
Mm-hmm.
You, my friend, are not a general. And yeah, he kind of big on him, but big dogged him because to be honest though, weird quotes. Oh, there's always some really weird quotes in every single episode of
Oh yeah, yeah.
Succession
The
because
writing
what do
is
you
just
say?
like, who comes up with this? Yeah.
um, Pause, big pause. He said,
Yeah, you're
"I
holding mine,
got
I'm holding
him."
yours.
Yeah, you're holding mine right now, but guess what? I'm
Yep.
also holding yours. I was like, okay, yeah, it's a handshake for sure, I guess. But I think that Kendall is so cringy. And sometimes you can just like cringe. What the hell happened to the house then? They just like tore that shit down, right?
Yeah, it was just like this
Oh
is
my god.
def content. It's not gonna work. So they
Can you
made the right
imagine
decision
that?
by just tearing it down.
Can you
You
imagine
what can
that?
I imagine building, yeah, coming up with that on the
Building a
fly
house
and then just having to tear it down. Yeah, it
and
would
then
be
just be like,
pretty,
no, this is it.
yeah,
Because the clouds, like what are you talking about
just
clouds?
spray clouds. Yeah.
But I think with Shiv, Roman, everyone just kind of watching Kendall going to do his thing. They know, his past, his history.
Right. Right.
Uh, I wouldn't pick Kendall to be on stage for this exact moment, right? What's he gonna do? L to the OG? What?
I thought for a second, I thought he was gonna bust out the rhymes, man.
Or something. Yeah, he's got the jacket on, ready to go to the moon and
Flying to the
everything.
moon, man. Yeah.
But it is one of those moments where you gotta learn somehow.
Yeah.
You gotta start from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Where I do respect what you're saying about Kendall this season, because again, yeah, when you were saying that he's like maybe the least emotional
Affected.
person, the
Mhm.
least emotionally
Yeah.
affected, making a bit more rational decisions. Yeah, he seems to be the most focused on getting something done,
Yeah.
and that's where he's starting to get his time to shine.
Right. I agree, man. I could have said it better myself, man. I
But I
love this
was
scene for so many different perspectives. Number one, never seeing Carl come at anyone like this on the entire show caught me off guard, and I loved every second of it, even if it was for my favorite character. But the thing that I loved even more is, and when he says, if you screw me over, I'm gonna snitch. I'm gonna put all your dirty
I
laundry
will
out there.
squeal.
Good luck, buddy. But the thing I love, Nine, as we get into Showtime, and if Ken's gonna step up and crack under pressure, the thing I love is the response from Ken in this moment, Nine, because if this was Ken season 1, if this was Ken season 2, especially after his dad just completely destroyed him and covered up the whole, the Raider dying, Ken would have folded under pressure 100%, as he was kind of, and this is why I love, this is easily my favorite scene of the entire episode. Nine, some great moments in this episode. This was my favorite. He's on stage, Nine, and big shoes, big shoes, big shoes. I don't know how many times he said it.
Mhm.
He was just lost in
I was
translation. He
like,
didn't know.
oh
Here it
no,
is.
I don't
Here it
like
is.
it.
And this is the brilliance of the show, Nine. As the audience, we thinking, here it is again. We're going to see Ken,
Crash and burn.
embarrassing himself in front of everyone. But they play us and they give us something I did not expect coming. Not only does Ken, start to say, ramble off some crazy thing, but then all of a sudden, Nine, he transitions to having Logan on screen, which was just so uncomfortable for me, as well as the banter, by the way, Nine, between Shiv and Rome saying that his sister was getting off on this, and then Greg looking at Tom and telling him that you don't have to worry about your speech. All you have to do is just pick up the blood. Nine, this scene, bro, is just so funny. But then my boy does redeem himself. Nine, I want to get your thoughts on Ken actually getting back on track, selling the product. I don't know. This is back in my heyday when I was like super into technology. Back when I was a tech head, I watched a lot of like Steve Jobs and Microsoft presentations. It reminded me so much of that, where they're just spilling out BS, reading off a teleprompter, but then Ken comes in and say, "I'm gonna put my own funk to it." Nine, talk to me about this scene where you're on the edge of your seat, where you just covering your eyes because it was just going to be a train wreck.
I cringe when Roman said, if I cringe any harder, I might become a fossil. I typed that.
Really great lines.
But yeah, what's up with this Coachella Tupac hologram Logan Roy shit that he's trying to put on?
Bro.
Because it almost felt like a move that only Kendall would make, and it did feel kind of spiteful to everybody, right?
Man.
Like he saw that underline and he's going to run with it. My dad is on my side. I will use his likeness. I'll use his image. I'm going to use the situation I have in front of me to get what I want done. And that's kind of what makes this a really special moment within the show. I'm sorry, but what Roman says to Shiv there, Roman is so weird.
He is.
Can I repeat it?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I can hear how wet you are from here.
Yeah. Yep.
That's your sister, bro. Roman.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
Get to the dog cage. You cannot say that about your sister, bro.
Man, this scene, Ken, on seeing him on stage now, seeing Ken just fall through the. I was so uncomfortable watching it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna lie, I was proud of my boy, man. He pulled it. He reeled it in. You know, he went off the rails with having his dead dad on screen in less than 2 days of him passing away. But he was able to reel it in, Nine, and we see that the buzz is going good. But Nine, we can't forget about this nuclear bomb by the name of Lucas Manson. He's on Twitter, man. Twitter fingers, and he puts out a very inappropriate joke on Twitter. And again, I got to give props where props are due. I'd give this man his roses. If this was Ken 2 seasons ago, he would have again folded, but instead he takes questions from the audience. And one of the first questions from the audience is, what do you have to say about the remarks that the potentially new owner of this company had to say? And he pulls out his phone, Nine. He looks at the remarks, and his first comment is, "Well, I won't like the tweet. I won't favorite the tweet, which
Hey,
I won't retweet it."
that's what I'm gonna do when I'm gonna be on a live stream on my channel, and you're gonna tweet something crazy at
Something
me.
crazy.
And I'll be like, "Oh shit!
Yeah.
All right." But
I
guess what?
loved it, man.
I heart every single one of your tweets that you tweet out, that I see. But
The
man,
response, man, is and what does he says? He apologizes on his behalf, and he says he's European, and he pulls it off. Nine again.
mhm.
Just talk to me about Ken and his resilience on stage, man.
I really don't think it was that earned. I think that Madison did something crazy,
Mhm.
and Kendall just putting it like, okay, I'm gonna put this aside. Like, it's not really. He didn't even have to say much to, dispel all of the criticism or the rumors or whatever that Madison was trying to build up. Uh, so really, it just kind of felt like that one chip of armor that we seen from Madison, right? Like, he made the wrong move there, and
Terrible.
all Kendall
Terrible.
had to do was boister himself up and just move past it.
Yeah.
And he did that very slickly, did that very well. But I don't think it was that much of like a very big win for Kendall's. Like, he didn't dunk on him. You know what I'm saying? Like, Kendall, like he could have like dunked on him, but instead what he did was just kind of like let it slide, like focused it back in.
Yeah. I hear you, man. But maybe call me a Ken Stan, but I thought it was a huge moment for him, bro. I thought it
Yeah.
was so because I just think about it again, Ken, and every time he is put on stage or put it on to say something on company's behalf, he just always just doesn't. He retreats back to just the old sad puppy Ken and can't think for himself. But and I'll just put myself in that position if I was, Ken. I mean, I would have been caught completely off guard. I would have known what to
Mm,
say, but the fact that he was able to kind of put a spin on it and
mm,
continue to go on with his speech. And as we end the episode, there's good movement in the stocks. Ken's speech worked. Manson ends up deleting the tweet, so it's kind of like that.
hmm
I guess that
He
was
pulled
the
it off.
dunk. Yeah, I guess he
Right.
kind of backed off. Everyone's calling Ken special. The king lives, and we
Mm,
see Roman. Oh, good job, brother. He walks out, head down. He made a bad
hmm
choice. He didn't go with the right horse. And Shiv, same thing. Neither one of them flew to the moon with their brother. Which again, we're seeing Ken right now is the one ascending to the sun while everyone else is kind of leaning back and playing in their own sandbox with firing with Roman. Now Shiv's trying to get back in the relationship with Tom. They're kind of losing their sight on the key prize, but Ken's the only one right now that seems to be really focused on being the man.
hmm
Wow.
So, on your point about it
Yeah.
being a big Kendall moment,
Right.
so in my mind, right, the big Kendall moment is end of season 2, right?
Oh, when he
When
when he
he
threw his dad under the bus.
right.
That's one of my
So
favorite iconic
that's
TV
like
moments
that
ever.
big, yeah.
I got you.
That
Yeah,
is
yeah.
a big one. This right here felt like more of a well executed just maneuver rather than like that big like dunk moment. I
Right,
think
right,
we
right.
are going to get a really big dunk moment for Kendall later on in the season, like that kind of rivals as big as end of season 2.
Hey, I'm here for it because I'm not even speaking hyperbole. That scene, and which why is why season two will be ever like goated for me. Of
Hmm.
course, this season's been great, and we'll see how it ends. But that scene, man, I remember watching it like it was yesterday. I was literally shocked. And what I
Yeah.
love, even it was the cherry on top for me, nine in that scene is when we cut to Logan, and he has like a little smile on his face, like
Smile. Yeah.
maybe
It's
my
like,
son is
yeah.
a killer. Yeah,
Right.
I love
Yeah.
that scene so much, man. But
Exactly.
wrapping this up now before we get to some comments and call it a night, man. We end the episode with Rome and watching well, before we get to the Rome moment, because that's how we end the episode, we see Tom and Shiv in the car discussing their options and how they're going to move discreetly as this couple. We see Ken on a beach, which just reminded me so much. We see him on a beach. He's on literally cloud nine. But the last time we saw him near water at all is when we saw him at his lowest point in season 3, when I thought that they killed Ken when he was in the pool, and he was
Mm.
like drinking and he like passed out. I'm like, dude, did they kill Ken? Because he's the water, he's gonna
Hmm.
drown. But last time we saw him, he was at an absolute low near water, and now we see him at an all-time high. So I thought that was just a great little tie-in from last season to this season, just seeing that growth in the character there. But we end, my friend, on this shot, and you talk about just a character that we've been kind of referring to all episode, and like, where is he headed? Where is he going? What is he doing? This is kind of some really messed up mind games that he's playing with himself. I'm talking about this shot here now with Rome in the car replaying a moment from that
Yeah.
same promo of his dad Logan, talking about his son is such an embarrassment and just making fun of him. He's listening to it over and over and over again.
And is that edited too? Like it's kind of sound like it was like edited to just like how Greg wanted Mr. Snip Snip to say some of the words. Like, did Roman have that edited for
Together.
Logan to say that? Because what I'm thinking is we already know that Roman is crazy.
Yeah, he
Uh,
had Jerry telling him to call him all these weird things, and he got off on it. Yeah, he's a
mhm.
weird child.
And I'm trying to figure out what drives Roman at this point.
Mm.
And it doesn't feel like it's the same thing that drives Kendall.
Right.
Although we saw in the last episode him confronting Madison on that mountain
Mm-hmm.
that, you're not going to take this thing that our
Right.
dad
His dad's
built.
legacy. Yeah.
Right. But it seems that now he's kind of upset about how he's letting Kendall take the reins. Right? Or
That's how I took it. Yeah, I mean, I think he, again, even in death, he still wants to impress his dad, and
mhm.
I think he didn't. He was on the wrong side of history. He could have been on that stage with his brother and embraced all that good
Mhm.
juju, but instead he went against his maybe instinct to be up there, and he's a screw up.
Mhm.
That's why the whole video is like you're essentially a screw up, and I think he's just like hearing it over and over and over again, especially from hearing it from his dad. Is something that he's probably so used to throughout his life.
Now, I think that when we saw in this episode him kind of pantomiming his dad through his firing of
Mhm.
Joy and Jerry,
Yeah.
but he's kind of realizing that he needs to be like his dad, like how Kendall was, like
Right.
actually getting up on stage,
Yep.
doing the things, making those maneuvers.
Mhm.
Um, and he's just kind of punishing himself right now
Yep. Yep.
over that fact. Like,
100%. It's
mm,
screwed up. It's messed up. It's
it's
mind games.
gross.
It is. It really
It's
is. And it just
gross.
again just showed, and we just saw him, a couple literally last week, kind of having that W. Well, at least he thought in his head, not knowing that Shiv was the one that kind of essentially saved the deal. But he was on a high last week, and man, as we wrap it up, I've been seeing a couple comments, man, and some people that think that Roman, you know, there's this, I don't want to say it's like a theory, but there's been a couple times in this season that Roman has been grabbing prescription drugs. And I don't know what they are
Mm.
exactly, but I saw a clip somewhere online where they showed him taking Adderall randomly. When Carrie dropped her bag during the wake, he took her pills. And then the next episode, you see him taking pills again. I don't know. I don't know what you think about this, but are we slowly but surely seeing him go into this suicidal state of
Ah,
mind?
that's tough.
Pretty
That's
dark.
tough.
Are
Just
we getting that with
because
Roman?
that would be an interesting character development for this part of the season,
Right.
maybe
Right.
just because um Roman is kind of like more of a mentalist type of addictive fuck
Personality.
up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
Kendall is like has that, actual drug addiction problem.
Hmm.
I don't think we've actually explored any of that type of thing. I don't think I've really noticed Roman except for this season. I remember especially when Kelly dropped her bag
Yeah.
and he picked up the pills and was kind of like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But it would just be kind of strange for him to adapt that type of quality
Yeah.
um, along with this punishing that he's doing to himself right
Right.
here, which seems like way more in line with the thoughts that Roman would have,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, I think that I think that there needs to be some type of conclusion with Roman and Jerry
Mm.
moving forward. If it does turn out to be a tragic situation with
Yeah.
Roman, I think
Hmm.
Jerry would be one of the people that actually snaps him out of it, right?
I mean that's the most like vulnerable person we see him besides Shiv and Ken.
Hmm.
That's the most vulnerable person we see him been around. So yeah, man. I mean, it's very interesting. Again, I've always been a fan of the portrayal of Roman because he's just such a wild card and he always seems to be on the ball and something and nothing never gets him off kilter. But this season has really shown us again with the death of his father in particular that he is just as screwed up as all these other characters, man, and doesn't have his head straight at all. And I
Hmm.
think out of all the kids, Connor included, he is taking the death of his father the hardest because at least Shiv has Tom, even though they're toxic as hell, she has someone to kind of at least get her mind off of it. Ken right now is on his high horse and just taking all this power to his head. Connor's running for president, just got married, and buying
No
this.
Connor this episode.
No Connor, yeah, yeah, yeah.
No
Which
con
I'll
heads.
be honest with you, Nan. I love how Connor's, just kind of a forgotten about child, but I think the show actually forgets about him at the same
Sometimes,
time. It's
yeah.
frustrating. But going
They're
back to what
actually
I was
he's
saying.
kind of one of my like favorite people on the show right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's
Especially with the wedding going through and
yeah.
everything. And it seems I was just like, oh, that is tragic, but kind of beautiful too. Like,
Wedding and a
I don't
funeral
know.
all in one day, or learning about your father's death and getting married in one day is pretty
Right.
crazy. But yeah, like to my final point is like everyone has something to distract them with, whether it's power or manipulation or toxicity or presidency. But Roman, who does he have, and what does he have to necessarily lean on? And
Hmm.
it's nothing but his regrets and his thoughts and his
Hmm.
dad in his head telling him he's a screw up. So
You're right.
we'll see, man. We will see. But Nan, as we wrap it up, my friend, I really appreciate you joining me tonight. And we're going to stay on for maybe another 10 to 15 minutes to kind of get everyone's thoughts. But I want to get your final thoughts on this episode. Standout moments, favorite performance, favorite scene, things that maybe didn't work for you. And then if you were to, give it a score, what would you give it, man? So final thoughts.
I would say standout moments were definitely between Shiv and Tom. I kind of am obsessed with whatever's going on in that situation. Um, really, Shiv has a lot more control than I think anybody actually knows right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whatever happens next between those two is going to be pretty entertaining. Especially knowing next week we got Madison joining back into the mix. Looks like he may be like
Literally
um,
crashing a party.
crashing a party, right? And he's just kind of like in his Assassin's Creed hoodie or whatever, like his ponchos or whatever that
Yeah.
he'll be swagging out on. And yeah, their relationship is just kind of like fascinating, worrying, but very enchanting to yeah, see develop.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
Now I would say that but whenever Kendall takes that dip in that water though,
Yeah.
I feel like that's just like a clue that something's about to happen, right? Kendall's about to throw down the gauntlet on some type of thing.
Whew, I think you might be onto something, man. And then if you were to give it a out of
Oh,
5, out of 10, a letter grade,
my
what would you
rating,
give it?
I wouldn't say it's my favorite episode of the season.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's so much. It's one of those episodes that I'm gonna be like, oh man, did I watch this episode? Like, there's so much that happened. Such
yeah.
a long episode.
Mhm.
Uh, it's gonna be kind of like a sleeper hit for me. Um, how about I just rank it out of the six? I would say like it's probably in like the top four,
Okay.
or I mean, yeah, number four out of the
Gotcha.
six.
Out of 6 so far. Yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
reasonable.
but still good, still
Yeah.
really good.
So yeah, yeah.
8 out of 10, 7.5, 8 out of 10.
Gotcha, gotcha. Well said, man. I mean, I totally agree with you on the most intriguing, entertaining aspect, the most, kind of head scratching WTF moments were the scenes between Shiv and Tom. I definitely agree with you there. But as far as my favorite scene, favorite character, MVP of the episode, as I alluded to at the very beginning, my boy Kenny Ken. The king is here,
Mhm.
the champ is here. I'm serious, but I really enjoyed the portrayal from Jeremy Strong tonight, as I have this entire season. But I really love that he was able to step up, and we'll see what comes with this. Is he going to be on a high, continue to making good decisions, or is he going to crash and burn? We talked about the Roman situation tonight, and I'm really intrigued again based on what you said on the trailer last week, and just thinking of whenever we have these characters just in a room is one of the most dynamic episodes. I go back to episode 4 after in the wake of Logan. That was some of the most compelling TV, and they were just in rooms talking throughout the
Mhm.
entire episode. So
And it
whenever we
seems
get,
like,
yeah,
yeah, we're gonna get that next week, and it's gonna be
exactly.
just a lot more
All
dynamics
yep,
added into it.
I'm
Ooh, it's
here
gonna be
for it.
good.
I am
It's
here
gonna be
for
good.
it, man. So
They have to come back next week.
yeah, man. So this is the end of our breakdown portion. Again, for those that are watching the breakdown, we appreciate you. Do me a favor, like, share, but more importantly, I want to know your thoughts on this episode, favorite moments, your score of the episode, as well as what do you all hope to see in the weeks ahead. So definitely do us a favor and let us know. But more importantly, I got my man Nine, who you guys can see on the screen. Such a great commentator tonight. So many great takes. Had a great time with him. So do me a favor, y'all, those watching the breakdown. His link is in the description of this very video. Click on it, subscribe, watch all this video 50 times. You won't be disappointed. So, on that being said, we'll catch you guys on the next video, but we're still live. So, any final questions for me and Nine, let us know before we wrap this thing up. And at the same time, give us your scores, your MVP, and we'll pull them up on the screen and read them as we go along. But, man. We'll be on for another 10 minutes, man. But I really, really enjoyed having you on tonight, man. This was a lot of fun, bro.
Yeah, this is a great time. I was so excited when I found out that you were covering Succession and you're doing your
Yeah.
live shows,
Yeah,
just
man.
because, yeah, I love tuning in. Fantastic channel, man. Again,
Oh, I appreciate it, bro.
congratulations on reaching that 50K. Did that happen like today, or it happened
Honestly,
pretty
man, I've been
quickly
so
here,
busy.
right?
I'm gonna have to sit down and really process it all and make like a separate video and really kind of sit back and thank the community, man. It's as you know, as a content creator, man, this video content creating can definitely be a stressful thing to come up with ideas and come up with
Yeah.
videos and editing and all that stuff. So it's definitely something I haven't really set down and really processed. I think it happened yesterday or maybe Friday, but yeah, man, I appreciate it, and more importantly, everyone that's here with us tonight, man, that's been a part of this journey. I appreciate
Hmm.
that, man. So, no, man, I appreciate that, and shout out to you, bro. You've been killing it, man. I know from just the last year to where you're at now, and getting over 100,000 views on various different videos, and the community you've been building. That's the thing I admire about content creators, man. It's like it's cool to put out content, but I really appreciate when someone can build a community of people that trust in your opinion, agree or disagree, and just building a fan base or building like a community of people that just have a good time, put all the negative stuff out, and just have fun about talking about stuff we love, man. So shout out to you, bro. I'm really
Thanks,
great,
man.
great thing.
Yeah, it's been like so much fun.
Yeah.
And again, like I just started like, video editing when that Panini hit, right?
Mhm.
Everyone had that downtime. I just took that up because I always just curious about it. And
Yeah.
yeah, just last year it started to blow up, and
Yeah,
man, the
man.
people I've met along the way, it's been so much fun. It's been so cool, and yeah, can't wait to keep on going and
Love it.
see where it takes us.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. To the moon, like my man Ken.
Right.
We got a quick question from my man Lewis Cook, who says, Elliot Nine, whom character arc in the show have you enjoyed the most? I'm gonna have my guest answer
Ooh.
first. Who's
Huh?
that character, man? Who's that character that you
Oh,
enjoyed the most?
okay. Gosh, I would have to say, dang, should I say Greg or not? I don't know. Greg has been so
Greg
interesting to
Dang.
watch, but I think the significance of kind of like structuring uh with Greg being the surrogate for the audience,
Yeah.
with the main theme of the show being Succession, who's going to get the crown or whatever.
Hmm.
um but then there's also that other main theme that has been Tom and Shiv's relationship.
Yeah.
That has been really cool. Of course, those tragic events happening on their wedding day.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
I'll never
Like,
forget that
that's pretty
episode.
nuts. And then having their relationship evolve from there and degrade from there. It's been really interesting to watch. So I
Yeah.
would say, actually, yeah, Tom and Shiv. Tom and Shiv.
Yeah, those are great picks, man.
That
I enjoy
relationship.
both their characters. And Shiv, I've always appreciated Sarah Snooks and her performance. Something I always admire. And you talked about it up top, man. She her swag is always on point, man. Shout out to the production team, man. She be coming out with these suits and just be swagged out, man. So definitely a good pick there.
Super
Oh, for
gangster
sure, for
swag.
sure. Mine is, I think it's obvious, beat a dead horse. It's
Ken,
Ken. It's Ken, man.
Ken.
Episode 1, thinking that he had all the power in the world to take over the company, and then his father takes it away from him, and then his dad has that medical situation. He's just left in limbo. And
Mm-hmm.
throughout that first season, just trying to the fight between the kids while their dad was recovering to the dad coming back. And then season 2, Ken, of just crash and burn, man. Jeremy Strong's performance in that season was just nothing short of phenomenal. So, and then jumping into season 3, going against his dad, and then now you seeing where he's at now. So it's definitely Ken for me,
Mm-hmm.
Lewis. So great question, man. Great question.
That's a good
We'll take a
question.
couple more before we call it a night. Stress was saying, Ellie, do you think Ken might be bipolar, which is the gleam in his eyes that stems from remember? I don't know if he's bipolar. I know he definitely has mental health. They all need to talk to a therapist. I definitely know that, but I
He
don't know if
has
he's bipolar.
eccentricities.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has eccentricities. Well, yeah, he definitely goes through manic episodes that
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
are pretty drug induced. He's pretty impulsive.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
he may be bipolar. He might be bipolar. Who knows?
Possibly. But definitely good. I mean, let us know in the chat, guys, if you ever thought that Mr. Ken is bipolar. Let me see. Is there any couple scores here? We got a 9 out of 10. MVP was Nicholas. Greg. We got a Greg fan. Ashley episode was an 8 out of 10 MVP. Ken for sure. We got my boy Ken. And let's see, another Ken. Ken was MVP. All right, so this is why I mess with y'all, man. Y'all know what's up. Y'all know Ken came through and stole the episode. But no, man, I think we're gonna call it a night, man. Before we wrap up, my friend, this has been a lot of fun. I love that you watch this show because I love your commentary on all the stuff that you cover on your channel, and knowing that you're a fan of the show and having this great conversation made my week, man. So I really appreciate you tonight, now. And
That's
so
awesome.
before we call it a night, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna have my guests let you all know where you can find him, what he got next on his channel. With that being said, Nine, take it away.
Hey, what's up, MovieFiles gang? I am 9NerdYards. You can find my YouTube channel just by searching that below. It's 9NerdYards. Don't ask me why that's my name of the channel, but it works. It kind of rolls off the tongue once you get used to it. I am doing a lot of video essay, video commentary. We do live streams too. I got my whole crew with me. We're doing Dave, FX, Dave. And that's been a banger of a season. We would love for any Dave fans to come and join us every Thursday around 9:45 to 10 p.m. Central Time. So we run a little bit late, but I think it's super intriguing. It's been very awesome to be able to talk with all of y'all, see all of your comments. I love Succession too, and you may even see a little Succession video that I did back in the day about how Logan Roy, the the hog bore on the floor is a special scene that I broke down. So go check out the channel.
Definitely do so, guys. So many great stuff that I've seen on the channel. And I love the yeah, man. I love that you guys are doing more lives because I had the fortunate opportunity to be on the channel before with Nine talking about Atlanta, and I love you guys' banter. You guys have so many great takes, and it's just the back and forth, handing the baton to each other, and you guys run with it and do a great job of doing
We
so. So
get
definitely,
we
guys,
get
check them
pretty
out.
wild, yeah.
Yeah, man. Y'all doing some things, man. And shout out to you guys I saw in the last few month or so interviewing some amazing talent on some of the stuff that we love. I know you interviewed the young lady from Swarm, and a variety of different people that's been on Atlanta. So you guys are doing big things, man. I love it.
Yeah, it was really awesome to interview that chick from Swarm.
Yeah.
You know, someone that was bumping elbows with Billie Eilish
Billie
and
Eilish, yeah.
Dominic Fishback, giving us just some behind the scenes secrets and developments about that episode and that show overall. Yeah, I really never thought I would ever like. It's a strange feeling when you can interview the people of the show that you're talking about. I'm like, that's crazy. That's kind of crazy.
Y'all
Victoria Blade
that's
interview up now. Yeah.
That's dope. And next time we look up, he'll be having Donald Glover himself on the channel. Talking about
Oh, Disco Ball Glitters in the chat.
Yeah, man.
Hey, what's up, Disco? Love
That's
ya,
what's up, man. Well, None, it has been a pleasure, man. I hope we can do this again sooner rather than later. And for everyone that watched tonight, before you guys leave, make sure to hit that like button, share. Shout out to the replay gang. Definitely leave your thoughts in the comments. And as far as the week goes for MovieFiles on the channel this week, I shot a bunch of Guardians of the Galaxy footage, or not footage, but content of spoiler content with myself and a very special guest that I'll let you guys see who that is in coming this week. And besides that, man, we're getting ready for May. So Little Mermaid, Fast X, which we'll see what that's all about because I did not like Fast 9.
it's gonna make $1 billion.
Oh, easily. And I'm forgetting something else. There's some other big stuff coming out, but the most important thing is hit that bell notification so you guys can keep up to date with all the stuff. But Nine, for myself and Nine, we thank you guys for tuning in. You guys have been awesome. Make sure to buy your moon jackets. Make sure to, do what you do best. Have a great week. Stay safe. And we will catch you guys on the next video. Peace out, everyone.